Welcome to the debut of the Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club. You know me already, Jake Brown. You've seen me, and you know my partner, Erik Coleman, former Jet safety. This is the baldest show in America, Erik, and you got the cleaner shave. I need to still do mine a little spotty, but welcome to the show. We'll get into the show in a minute, but just wanted to bring you in and welcome you aboard of the Jets Flight Club family.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Jets Fight Club. The sickest New York Jets podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome in to Jets Flight Club, the Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club. I'm Jake Brown alongside former Jet safety Erik Coleman as we react to just utterly brutal week one game. Boy, the excitement was in the air. We were so fired up, Erik, for Aaron Rodgers to play more than 4 snaps, for his first completion, for his first beautiful throw to G-Dubs, for his first touchdown pass. We saw all those, but sporadically and, not how we wanted to see them. So we're here to break it down. First off, if you're on YouTube, smash that thumbs up below. Comment below. We're live right now, so if you're with us live, we will read your comments live on the program. And, we'll also take your questions. We'll do preview shows Thursdays. We'll set up a voicemail, videos. We want to hear from the fans. And this is a show for the fans, by the fan and player who is now a fan, Erik. And welcome in. How you feeling? Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I feel great. It's the start of a great season, hopefully for the Jets. And, disappointing loss in week 1 of Monday Night Football last night. But, I think that there's a lot to learn from this team. We'll get into everything as we chat. But, overall, I'm excited to be talking about the Jets with you, breaking things down and getting after it.
The Jets, Erik, are who the 49ers, the Jets want to be the 49ers. Let me put it that way. Like, that is a team in a different class than the Jets. And, Rodgers talked after the game about, we hope to see them one day. Like, we hope we'll see them again down the road. And my homer pick on the preview show and online, whatever, is Jets over 9. This was my Super Bowl pick. And, of course, I look like an idiot. Well, I am an idiot, and I'm a Jets fan. So, of course, I'm an idiot already. But, this roster has all the makings for something special. That was not the special sauce that we saw on Monday night. And there's a lot of ways we could attack this game. Let's preface all this, Erik, with this. And, you played in the league. You played 16 games. Now it's 17. It's game 1. Right. The Jets are going to get better from this. This was the bottom of the barrel. This was a team that hasn't played much together, that clearly wasn't in sync, that was going up against a Super Bowl contender and a team that's been in the Super Bowl with elite coaching. So this was a tough first week and on the road. So I think it's going to get better. So I think both of us need to preface this to the fan base that it should go up, it will go up, and the Jets are still a good football team that has things that need to be ironed out.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic about where this season is going to go for the Jets. And coming into this game, in my mind, I'm like, man, this is like the worst case scenario for the Jets. They're flying over to the West Coast. And I'm not making excuses for the team because they did not play well. But worst case scenario, they flew to the West Coast. You play a Monday night game. They're playing against Kyle Shanahan, where did Robert Saleh come from? He came from Kyle Shanahan. If anyone knows that defense, it's Kyle Shanahan, and he knows the ins and outs. He knows the wrinkles, the adjustments, the leverage that they play. So overall, it was going to be a tough situation for these Jets. With the offense understanding how things run. But where I was surprised with the Jets was how they just got punched in the mouth. They just were allowed to the 49ers were allowed to run up and down the field, extend drives. The Jets weren't able to get off the field on third downs. And if a team can run down the middle of your defense, I don't care who you have in the secondary. I don't care who you have in the pass rush. It's not going to be effective. You can't let teams run down the middle of your defense. And, for 9 years I played, and every single game plan that we had, I don't care who we played, the first goal was to stop the run. You cannot allow teams to run down the middle of your defense, because now if you can't stop the run, you can't stop anything. So that's where the Jets fell, I believe, was in the run game, stopping that run and allowing Mason to run up and down the field.
Yeah, you started it. We were nice. Now it's time to be mean. Now we need to break down what went wrong, because we prefaced it with the good stuff. We prefaced it with what it'll get better. But what we saw was ugly. And like you said, the run defense. Michael Jordan Mason was out there, Eric. Was it Jordan Anthony Mason? May he rest in peace. One of the big fella, he was running more like Anthony Mason than Michael Jordan, just barreling defenders over. This was an undrafted running back, and no disrespect to undrafted guys. We've seen plenty of good ones. But he ran down the Jets' throats, 28 for 147 and a touchdown, and almost 2 touchdowns, but one got called back. Like, Eric, like, we right before the game find out that Christian McCaffrey's not playing, and, you know, Mason made the mistake after the game of saying he knew Friday, which means the 49ers could maybe get in trouble. Shanahan tried to cover it up by saying, no, that's not true. So there's going to be a mess after that. I'm sure they'll get through it. Maybe they'll get fined like $50,000, whatever it is, some chump change for them. But this is arguably the worst running back they're going to see all year. That's concerning. And like, we'll get into the Reddick element, but you know, Reddick is more on the pass rush, which, I mean, where was it? There's an APB out for the Jets pass rush. It was non-existent. I don't care what the box score says that they had a few sacks. It felt like they had 0 sacks and really had 0 pressure on Brock Purdy, who was able to do what he wanted. But, you know, this is something coming to the year. We knew the secondary would be good. We knew they would hopefully have a pass rush. We were a little unsure about the run game, but we knew the big fellas up the middle should be able to get the job done. They did not. And that's something Robert Saleh, you know, used some expletives to say we need to clean this up. Well, you better get moving quick, because you're going to face a lot better running backs than Jordan Mason. And if you can't take down Jordan Mason, you're in for a long awakening.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, the NFL is something special, you know, and I tell people this all the time. It can be an all-pro guy that you're facing. It can be a guy who just came off the street. These guys are talented. And, you know, for Kyle Shanahan, he is a masterful offensive coach. He puts his team, he puts his players in the right position to win. And, I mean, you saw it with his dad. Who was Terrell Davis, you know, with the Broncos? And his dad made, you know, an all-pro out of him. So, you know, I'm not saying that Jordan Mason's going to go on and be an all-pro and do all these things. But the fact of the matter is, it was the offensive line that beat up the Jets. They got to the second level. They created creases. And, you know, if I'm playing running back, I can get some yards. I wouldn't get 147 like young Jordan Mason, but I would move the chains, because the holes were that big and the offense was that diverse. And I think that the Jets were playing on their heels quite a bit, you know, from the misdirection, from all the different ways that Shanahan attacks you. He keeps you on your heels. And as far as the pass rush, yeah, Haason Reddick is definitely needed, but you could have had Lawrence Taylor rushing the quarterback yesterday, and the way that the 49ers were getting were getting the ball out quick, it didn't matter who was rushing the passer. They were so comfortable. They were in their zone. That when you run the football, you're able to play action, you're able to use misdirection, and as a defense, you have to honor every single fake when they're running the football down your throat. If you get that run stopped, now it's like, okay, now he has to drop back. And now we know where he's going to be. He's going to be in that pocket. We can pin our ears back and get after the quarterback. But when the quarterback's running all around the field, when the running back's running all over the field, it really disables you as a defense.
And it disables you as an offense, because at the time of possession was off the wazoo, 38-40 to 21-20, Eric. Like, the Niners, you know, controlled this ball. They kept the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, to the point we ended up seeing Tyrod Taylor in the end. I thought we might see Tyrod Taylor for bad reasons. We saw for injury reasons. We saw him for let's play it safe. This is a blowout reasons, and the score did not represent how bad the Jets lost this game. I know it was only 32-19. Mm-hmm. It was a lot worse than that if you take that garbage time touchdown off the board. And, you know, that leaves me the pass rush before we get to the offense, because I got to rip Nathaniel Hackett's head off and the coach's head off. You know, Haason Reddick is right now, he's filming a TikTok in his home, in his apartment that has been blowing up, and he's saying, show me my money, show me my money. That's because him and his agent are jumping for joy right now. I think they were utterly, incredibly dumb for losing out on $6 million by $5 million for the training camp not showing up, and then almost $1 million in a game check. I think it was dumb. But after this first game, what do you do, Eric, if you're our bald brother Joe Douglas? Because you don't want to cave and overpay a guy who, one, hasn't showed up, two, hasn't proven anything here because he's never been here. He's never showed up ever. He comes from a different franchise, so he hasn't really earned the right to get a massive deal without even showing up. Like, if you show up, maybe you ball out in training camp, you get a deal. Now the Jets, I think, are realizing, hey, we don't have Bryce Huff here. We don't have Haason Reddick here. We need to get this thing sorted out, or we're not going to be putting pressure on many quarterbacks this season. And our bread and butter is holding teams to 17 points. The stat when Aaron Rodgers teams, their defense holds teams like under 20 points, he's like 85-10 or some crazy record. Well, I don't know if this defense is going to be able to do that to anyone if they don't attack the quarterback. Do you cave and pay Reddick? Do you envision him just showing up now and saying, hey, I'm finally here? Like, how does this story end?
I don't think you just cave and pay Reddick because of the outcome of this ball game. There were a lot of different elements that played in the success of the 49ers. And, we talked about the stopping the run, not being able to continue drives, not being able to get off the field on third downs. There were a lot of mishaps for the Jets. And I think ultimately one player is not going to just change, the whole complexion of this defense, but you've got to be looking at signing him. You need someone who's going to come off the edge, who's going to put some fear into the quarterback and into that left tackle. So Haason Reddick has done it for years. It just makes it tough when you haven't played for the team. No one knows you. No one has got used to you being in the scheme. And then just to pay you all this money and just plug you in, and it's just going to be, 17 sacks is kind of a crazy expectation. But for Haason, I think he's ultimately losing out. I think he's the one that's going to lose out. You have a small amount of time where you can make a ton of money as an NFL player, and to lose $5 million, yeah, right now while you're making $13-14 million, it doesn't seem that big of a deal. But that's money that you can't make up. And you're not showing anybody else around the league that you can make plays. And your value is what you put on tape. And if you're not putting anything on tape, you're not really creating a demand for yourself. Just because your team fell short and getting to the quarterback and they lost a game, that does not create more value for you as a player. I think if you're Haason Reddick, man, you've got to come to the table. I don't know where the numbers are, from Joe Douglas to Haason Reddick and his team, but somebody's got to get something figured out and get him in camp because, ultimately he's missing out.
His agent is doing the Conor McGregor strut to his desk this morning and saying like, all right, it's time. But there was the rumor out there that it was going to happen. He shut it down with like a 4 a.m. tweet. So listen, he's not winning agent of the year anytime soon. Like Tyreek Hill gave Drew Rosenhaus a call when he was on the ground getting cuffed, and that video is just alarming, by the way.
It was awful.
All those cops probably should be fired. But he's gonna get paid at some point. But if you're an upcoming free agent here and you don't show up at all, you're only hurting your value. So I feel like he's coming. I don't know if it's this week, next week, or in a month, but man, do they need him. Let's flip to the other side of the ball because the defense, I think, will get better. I think this was just a poor performance against an explosive offense. We got to talk about the offense because the creativity of this offense, how I would compare it is the 49ers offense is Moby Dick, a Moby Dick novel. It's Harry Potter. It's a 1,000-page masterpiece that's won all the Nobel Peace Prizes, won all the awards. The Jets offense is the Cat in the Hat. It's first down handoff every freaking time. And then 3rd and 1. I think everyone and their mother knew a run was coming there. They got stuffed. 4th and 1. Let's try a slant route. That's not going to work. I mean, the play calls, Eric, with Nathaniel Hackett are so predictable. And we got a tweet from Immortal Lou 30, and it's an interesting question we have to ask. Is there any scenario where Hackett gets play calling duties taken away? And at some point, you have to consider it. But then you have the other side of this is he's Aaron Rodgers' best friend. And the whole best buddy thing is going to cause the Jets problem because we saw Eric, how bad Hackett was play calling last year. We even saw in the offseason where they had guys talking to him. They try to bring in other people on the staff. They try to fix things up. We had the Keith Carter drama of players liking tweets, ripping Keith Carter essentially. So there's already been tons of drama. This is like a soap opera. It's All My Children, All My Coaches. Let's call that. All My Coaches coming up next on CBS featuring the New York Jets. That's like, I don't know if David Hasselhoff's being played by Hackett. You can name the actor, John Travolta being played by Keith Carter. I don't know who the actors are, who's playing who. But there's a lot of drama on this coaching staff, and it's ugly. And there was like a little video out there of Hackett showing Rodgers a play, and Rodgers looking the other direction. Rodgers is famous, Eric, for audibling every time, it seems like, with Hackett. That's why he thrived, which is another element I want to get to in a bit about audibling and hurry-up offense, which we saw zilch of on Monday. But this play calling is concerning. They are not using the ability of their players. Where was Malachi Corley? Mike Williams, I know he had a snap count, but didn't get the ball once. Garrett Wilson, while he got the ball down the field, where's a simple screen to Garrett Wilson once a quarter? Breece Hall, every time he catches the ball in open space, he causes problems for defense. We saw that, I think, once or twice the entire game. They are not using – you have Xavier Gipson. You have two reverse guys. You have two explosive guys. You essentially have four potential explosive offensive players, and this offense showed nothing close to explosiveness.
Yeah, it's I'm not trying to shoot Hackett any bail right now. I'm not trying to do that for the Jets. But when you turn over the ball early, when you're not able to establish a run game, as an offense, everything thrives behind you running the football. Just like on defense, you got to stop the run. You see in the 49ers, you saw in the 49ers offense how fluid everything went. When you can turn around and hand off the ball and he can go hit 7 yards, it makes, 2nd and 3, 3rd down and 3. You can get creative in what you can do. But if you're handing off the ball and it's, a yard and a pile of dust, what is your next option? There's not a lot of plays for a 3rd down and 9. There's not a lot of successful plays anyways in your playbook. So, I think the Jets have to toughen up offense on the offensive line and start getting a surge and moving forward, running the football. Breece Hall is your bell cow. He's the guy who you're going to hand off to. He's the guy who you're going to try to get the ball in space like they did in the first quarter. And it was almost like uncomfortable how they were trying to force the ball to Breece Hall in that first quarter. But the diversity needs to change up.
Oh. He finished with 16 for 54, Eric, but a lot of those came in garbage time.
Right.
You're right. You called it. Like, they forced it to the point the Niners saw it coming. And I agree, they got to feed Breece Hall, but you got to feed him when the time is right. And every first down ever is not the right time. Like, you have one of the greatest play action quarterbacks of all time at your disposal, and it's almost like he doesn't realize the talent he has. Hackett doesn't realize the playmakers he has, including the guy he worked with for years. It's almost like he forgot in the year away and, not having him the full season. He forgot who Aaron Rodgers is, and they were almost coddling him on Monday, almost babying him. And, here's the positive. You got him out healthy. He'll play in week 2, knock on wood that nothing happens in practice. But you got him out healthy, but it felt like they babied him. And I felt first down, where was the play action? Where was the reverse? And, people listen to my old show, they know how much I love reverses and screens. Maybe it's the John Madden in me. Like, I love those kind of plays. But you have guys who could do it. We have the Yak King. You have the Yak King, Breece Hall. You got all these guys. Yak King. I was Yak King. I was vomiting. I was Yak King. I didn't see the Yak King. I was yakking. Yeah. So, that's my worry is I agree you got to feed Breece, but you can't feed Breece on every first down. I really hope they take a hard look in the mirror, watch this tape, and the players obviously need to prove. Like, we don't need to beat that down your throats, but we do need to beat down your throats coaching, because these coaches did not put these players in a position to succeed. We saw it last year, but last year, Eric, you had an excuse. You had inept quarterback play. This year, there's no excuse.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games, Jake, where everybody has to look in the mirror. When you look at film today, whenever they get back into the facility, the coaches are going to say, I could have put the team in better positions. But when you look at player for player, you're going to watch every play and be like, did I win the matchup across from me? And that's what every player in the Jets locker room has to do is, did I win my matchup? And 9 times out of 10, the answer was no, because the 49ers were more aggressive. They out physical the Jets. They were faster. They seemed to be more in a flow offensively and defensively. Defensively, Fred Warner was flying around. He's the second guy in, punching balls out. They were playing tenacious on defense. It was like they let their hair down. And whereas the Jets, I felt like they were kind of playing not to make a mistake, especially offensively. Once they got down in that second quarter, it was almost like they didn't want to make things worse. And you can't win a football game trying not to make mistakes. You have to be the aggressor. You have to be out there throwing punches. And I think that's where the Jets fell off. They stopped throwing punches, and they started, shelling up and trying not to give up that big blow from the 49ers.
Yeah, like one of those staged boxing fights where everyone's just defending themselves without throwing a legit punch, and everyone paid $99.99 to watch it and they watched garbage. Well, I went to the Barstool Sansom Street here in Philadelphia to watch it and paid for very mediocre wings and fries and pretzels and Michelob Ultras, and I got garbage product on the field. So I also left mad. And you're right. Like, they play not to lose, and it's similar to how they played last year. But again, Zach Wilson was the quarterback. Like, you can't play not to lose. You have a quarterback play to win, and when he took those deep shots, it worked sometimes. Like, it felt like a different world when the Jets threw that pass to Garrett Wilson, amazing catch with the corner right on him in the first quarter, and then they scored the touchdown, 7-3 Jets. You're like, it's here. We've arrived. It's showtime. The Showtime Jets are here. And then it was 7-6 in the second quarter. And then after that, when the Niners scored, the game flipped. And listen, the Jets ended up having more touchdowns, but the Niners had 5 field goals. So the Jets did the one decent job. The Jets defense is in the red zone. They didn't get ruined. Like, they only gave up 2 touchdowns, just a lot of field goals. But otherwise, this is concerning. And, Kyle Shanahan just coached circles around Hackett and Saleh. And I'm sick, Eric, of the ESPN cameras, and the cameras always show Saleh, and it's the same. I don't know if I want to see him yelling or something, but like, he was famous for his energy, exuberance, yelling, screaming. Mm-hmm. And every time the cameras show him, he looks like white in the face, like he's just, doesn't know where he is, like he's pissed off, but doesn't know how to answer it. Maybe that's his demeanor and his style, but I'd like to see a little more fire from a head coach who's known for the fire, for the sideline that he was on before this, that they played last night.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That's the place where the Jets are going to thrive, when it's Saleh running up and down the sideline, emphatic, having that energy, everyone, celebrating and having a good time. But in order to play like that, and in order just to let it go, to play with your hair down, you got to do the basics, and you got to win the line of scrimmage. And I think that, as you move down throughout the season, this is week 1. They played a great 49ers team. This 49ers team, let's not kid ourselves. They're going to be probably in NFC Championship or the Super Bowl this year. They have a ton of weapons. They have one of the greatest offensive minds in Kyle Shanahan that the league has to offer, and their defense is top 3. So let's not beat ourselves up too much about the performance of the Jets. I know that it's going to get better. I know that they're going to learn from this. They're going to become more physical. There's a lot of teaching lessons in this game, but ultimately the Jets have got to get to the point where they can just let their hair down and let it go. When I was out at training camp practice, guys were walking around, dancing, having a good time, and they were dominating the Giants. They went out in the game, they dominated the Giants. Not saying that that's a hard thing to do.
Me and you will dominate the Giants. Yeah.
Not saying that that's a hard thing to do, but you got to find a way to get your swagger back, and getting back to the film room, getting healthy, and dominating that line of scrimmage. That defensive line for the Jets has got to create penetration. They've got to stop the run in order to let their ballers go out there and make plays. And that goes offensively and defensively. If you can't get off the field, if you can't force turnovers, if you can't get Aaron Rodgers the ball in advantageous situations, create a couple of opportunities, what do you want? What do you want them to do? You know what I mean? The defense has got to help out Aaron Rodgers, and it's vice versa. It works both ways. When I came into this season, it was like, oh man, the defense is going to eat. For so many years, they had a quarterback that's doing 3 and outs. And the defense goes to the sideline, they take a sip of Gatorade, they got to go right back out there, and they're exhausted. When I saw that drive in the second quarter, I was like, okay, this is what we're talking about. They had a long drive. They were converting first downs. They went down and put points on the board. I'm like, man, if I'm a defense right now, oh, it's time to go. But for some reason, that's where it stopped. But I think you're going to see more of that for the Jets, and you're going to see a defense going out there and making big plays.
You made an interesting point before, and something I was thinking as well is that this team walked the walk this entire offseason. From the tweets to what you're saying, training camp, swagger, feeling themselves, Rodgers back, all the Super Bowl talk from people like me and my buddy Jay Gassman and everyone out there talking about, how good this team will be. Well, they got knocked in the face on Monday, and reality set in that this is not going to be easy. It's going to be a grind. And, I predicted on the teaser show 11-6 was my prediction. So they got to go 11-5 here the rest of the way. And I think with their schedule, it's doable. And I don't want to schedule watch too much, but you have winnable games coming up against the Titans, against the Patriots, against the Broncos, and against the Vikings. You're facing Will Levis, Jacoby Brissett, Bo Nix, and Sam Darnold. You have to win at least three of those. London, Sam Darnold looked like a Hall of Famer against the Giants, but like we said, a lot of people are going to look like a Hall of Famer against the Giants. Really, you got to go 4-0 in those games, but I think you'll survive with 3-1. But you got to find a way to get this turned around quick, because the Titans, this is their home opener, and Will Levis isn't a bum, and they didn't look terrible. Good. Yeah, good defense. They got a run game, and like I said with run game, all those running backs on those teams are better than Mason. I'm sorry, Mason. It was a great game, but those running backs ahead on their schedule, even Ramondre Stevenson, even Javonte Williams, arguably, Aaron Jones, a very good running back. These are all good running backs, and it's only going to get more difficult. But yeah, out-coached, out-manned, outplayed. Very frustrating. The tight ends. I mean, Tyler Conklin, 1 catch. I mean, when you look at the box, if you want a box score watch, it was essentially 3. It was Lazard. That was a positive to come out of this game. Alan Lazard with his buddy, and even Tyrod Taylor in the end there, is alive. Like we don't need an APB out for him. Like he showed us why, his agent, who I know, got him that contract, is he is a capable player. And the first drop of the game, you're like, oh God, it's Alan Stonehand, Stephen Hill, Lazard all over again. And then he came alive, and you're like, finally, Alan Lazard is here. But Eric, all we had was him and Garrett, and then obviously the Brees throws, and that was it. 1 throw to Conklin and 1 to back up Braylon Allen in garbage time. Everyone else has to get involved, and I hope the snap count increases for Mike Williams. I'd like to see him. But Tyler Conklin, there's no excuse for not getting the ball down the middle of the field, outside of the Niners defense, of course, being great. They got to get the ball to the tight ends. Aaron Rodgers has thrived in his career off multiple things that didn't happen Monday. That's getting the ball to tight ends, which he's made tight ends a whole lot of money. He's got a good one at Conklin. He's got a decent backup at Jeremy Ruckert. It's reading defenses and free plays, which his first touchdown pass as a Jet was a free play on an offside to Lazard. And it's hurry up offense and getting them to have 12 men on the field, which is also included as a subcategory in the free play thing. We didn't see one no huddle. Where was, hey, they're switching guys. Let's go. And I get it's week 1, and I hope it changes week 2. But Eric, we got to see him get to the line and hurry. This is a guy who thrived off it. And I know he's older. He's a year older. He's in his 40s now. He's an elder statesman. But I want to see those vintage MVP Rodgers moments where he says, hey, there's a 12th guy. Let's go. Boom. Free play. Touchdown. Because that's where the Jets will win football games, and when their Hall of Famer takes advantage of defensive mistakes.
Yeah, and you're going to see that, Jake. This is week 1. Let's not go crazy. They were playing against one of the best defenses in the league. It's going to improve. They got something to work off of, and I'm very confident that we're going to be in here next week talking about this is the team that we were looking to see. There's a lot to work off of, get those mistakes corrected, and they're good enough. They're a good enough team to bounce back and learn from this last butt kicking that they just received.
Yeah, if they get butt kicked in Tennessee and the Titans are all,
that's when you start worrying.
They're all at Tootsie's on Sunday night pounding down beers, we're in trouble. And we want to see the Jets celebrate, because they, like I said, they talked it, they tweeted it, like they've showed off. And I think they have the talent, and we hope it gets better. But this was an ugly showing, and to me, it's on coaching. They were not prepared. Like I keep saying, the predictable play calls, that's got to change. And that's what I worry about might not. Like, you can't change a bad coach. There's a reason Nathaniel Hackett was like the first coach ever to get fired before the end of his first season with the Broncos as head coach. Like, he's made a career off good relation. And I see why. We had him on my old show. He's a likable guy. He's fun. He's friendly. Like, I see why Nathaniel Hackett gets jobs. But when I see his play calling, I reconsider how he got those jobs. And that, I hope, really expands moving forward. He's Erik Coleman. He'll be joining us this season on the Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club. You can follow him on Twitter at Erik Coleman. That's ERIK, not ERIC. You can follow us at Sick Pod Jets. You can follow me at Jake Brown Radio. Smash that thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Comment what you think about the game. Are you more concerned? Do you think this is going to be a long-term issue, or are you in the middle? Like, I think we're in the middle here. If it's ugly, it's disgusting, but we think it'll get better. But we need to see it. We need a win on the board, and that starts in Tennessee. And we'll preview that game on Thursday's podcast. It'll be available this week wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with all your Jets fan friends. If you listen to my old show, come here, because this show is much better than that show is now. Sorry, I had to take a shot. I took a shot.
I'm here, so it already got better.
You're already better. I mean, the doom and gloom I had to deal with on the old show of the sky is always falling. We're two guys rooting for the team to do well. I don't think I had that in the past. And yeah, I got a lot of tweets. Thanks everyone for the tweets about them replacing me and not mentioning me and the disrespect. We got chips on our shoulder for our own reasons, I think, each of us. And we're coming out firing, and the Jets hopefully will come out firing too. If you might have missed the clip, but in the clip, I did throw the newspaper in the garbage. It was kind of a sign of a new era for me. People, I posted this. I'm still, if you're listening to this, I'm still looking for jobs. Like I am still on the job search. So if you're a hiring manager listening to the Jets Flight Club, I am looking to pay bills. So make sure you hire me as well as listen to the show and share it with your friends. Well, Erik, fun first show. I'm very curious the coming days. We can talk about Thursday. Haason Reddick, what's going to happen here? You had the John Abraham situation, but he showed up before the first game. Mm-hmm. Haason Reddick did not. So we'll watch out for that, and hopefully brighter days ahead, right?
Yep. And I'm very confident they will be much brighter.
Much brighter days ahead. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching the Sick Podcast. Jets Flight Club. Let's go, Jets. We'll see you on Thursday.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Jets Fight Club on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.